There's two basic reactions to AI, as I was just saying, just boiling it down. You bring up AI, a lot of people are excited. Some people are kind of scared. So I want to do a quick show of hands. I want to see how we stand on AI here. Yeah. Who in the crowd, when you hear AI, you feel mostly like excited about the potential? And who's a little freaked out that it's coming for your jobs? Okay, we got more excitement than paranoia, which is probably healthy. Although Agnes looks pretty freaked out the way she raised her hand. What about you guys? So let me just ask you quickly, should designers be excited about AI, or should they be worried that they're gonna, there's gonna be a robot designing all their stuff?
A little bit of both. But I am very excited about the future with AI. And I think I'm very excited, but also I realize we do need to make sure that we are responsible with it as well, like any evolution of technology has been in the past.
Right.
I'm excited because I feel that I believe we all believe that the superpower that we have as humans is our creativity, and we are all extremely creative. I look around and I've met amazing creative people while I've been here, and I feel like I'm with my extended family. It's been a great experience, and I'm honored to be here.
Great. Rod, what do you think? Should designers be excited about fulfilling their ultimate creative potential, or should they be freaked out that they're going to be out of a job?
Designers are always excited. But I might address perhaps the negative use case, the fear. If we think about AI, particularly if we start thinking about robotic process automation or intelligent process automation, a lot of people think that that could lead to a lot of job losses or redundancies. Just perhaps a couple of clear facts, but also a case for designers in that mix is, automation, IPA or RPA, only really addresses a percentage of the job that an individual does. It very rarely addresses an entire individual's job. And so it's very difficult for organizations to apply an RPA or IPA lens across their business and say, therefore, I can take out a hell of a lot of people from my organization. It actually addresses parts of a person's job. Right? So in the aggregate, it might look like a lot, but it doesn't work that way in most cases. And there's a very strong argument to say that if you actually take away some of the more administrative functions of what people do, the repetitive tasks, these people are highly trained, they're knowledge workers, that if you free them up to get back to what they're great at, you can actually advance your organization and grow the organization because they're free from a lot of those tasks. There will be cases where people will look at it as a cost-out initiative, but that's not always the case. Now, for designers, there's a great use case here, which is you don't automate a bad process, right? There's really little point in automating a bad process. You actually want to design a better business, design a better process, and then see how much of that can be automated. So designers will actually have a key role moving forward as organizations seek to become more intelligent in the way that they use technology to deliver their products and services.
So let's step back from the sort of fear versus excitement thing for a second and just talk about what is really the story with AI right now, because we're hearing so much about it in the media, but there's a lot of money flowing into AI. I mean, China's investing hugely in AI, venture capital is flowing to AI, Google, Facebook, companies are building AI research centers around the world. Rod, just, McKinsey studied this. Give us an overview of how AI is out there now and sort of where we are in terms of, the longer term. But where's it making an impact?
Yep, that's a great question. I might answer this in the terms of an iceberg. So I think a lot of us focus on the tip of the iceberg, the 20% that we can see, which is, connected homes, autonomous vehicles, IoT, Industry 4.0. I mean, there's a lot of shiny things out there that are very exciting. I think we gravitate towards there, and that's where a lot of venture capital goes as well. But if we look below the surface, the 80% of the time, AI and design has already been done in most of our organizations very effectively. And I might give just two very quick examples, walk them through, for two very different industries that would combine design and AI. Let's take insurance. If you're doing a small claim for most insurance providers, they've got some sort of intermediary like a broker. Most people will fill in a form that's 40 to 100 questions long that will then go through to manual processing by a broker. Most of them will then get forwarded onto a credit risk assessor or some fraud detection, and it takes a hell of a lot of time. Right. So if you can redesign that process to be 4 to 8 questions, that's a great customer experience. Plus, it means they can do it online rather than having to do it offline, which again is a cost benefit. But to get to those 4 to 8 questions, you need to know what are the 4 to 8 questions that account for 80% of the profiling of whether this person has the right credit risk rating to get that insurance. Well, the way to get that is by using AI, and for the AI people in the room, you could do probably something like a random forest walk. What that will then give you is, here are the key variables for different cohorts, for different types of people, that will give you a clear indication of where the risk is at. The ones that pass through that get then detected go to, again, the knowledge worker aspect, to somebody who's highly trained in credit risk or fraud to do the final pass. Rather than taking 100 cases to review, they get the 2, but they get to do it really well at what they're trained at. Right, so in this instance, you create a great customer experience, you take a lot of the effort out of the organization, and you can combine automation and AI to save that. Another one is mining, right? Very clear mining. This gets done all the time. When a conveyor belt breaks in a mine, it can shut down a mine for a day. We can imagine the productivity loss. But if you start using IoT and AI and start listening to things like harmonic resonance, so the sound that things make when they move, you can start to detect how likely it is that a belt is likely to break. And when you can start to detect that in advance, you can start to do some dynamic forecasting. If this breaks, when will it break? When do I bring in maintenance? So doing the maintenance before rather than afterwards. How do I then reschedule the people around the mine to do other tasks rather than having to put down their tools and take a lot of phone calls during the day to reschedule their activities? So instead of shutting down a mine for a day, you can combine AI and design and some smart forecasting around design to improve the lives or the days of the workers on the site and avoid a hell of a lot of downtime. These are things, just 2 industries where this is being done right now. And it's not the shiny things that we hear about, but it's having significant impact.
Great. And I want to turn to you, Silka. I just want to remind everyone that we will have some time for questions at the end. So be forming your questions, and we'll look to you for that in a minute. So Silka, as the head of the design lab at Adobe, of course, you're always looking to innovate your products. You make all these software products that are so indispensable for people in their work lives. But you're already implementing aspects of AI into your software.
Correct.
One way you've done that is something called Adobe Sensei, which is a machine learning platform, I believe.
Yep.
So tell us about your Sensei. Tell us what you're doing with AI and how we're seeing it in your software, and maybe we don't know we're seeing it, or what's the cool stuff happening behind the scenes?
So where AI is at right now, it's very good at automation, and it's getting better at being predictive. So our Sensei framework is about using artificial intelligence, but also creating a framework so developers can take the APIs and use them in their own tools as well. One good example of what's being done today, and we've built over 100 Sensei features throughout our marketing cloud, our creative cloud, which is the area I focus a lot on, our creative products, and our document cloud, is understanding images. So what artificial intelligence does really well is be able to look at an image and understand it. Now that seems easy for us, but it's not easy for us when there's millions and billions of images out there.
And there have been some bad, humiliating examples at other companies where image recognition kind of went wrong, right?
That's very true, and we're very aware of that, and we spend a lot of time, like painfully, large amount of time thinking about those unintended consequences and planning that they don't occur. Right. And I'd urge all designers to do the same before they release anything that's powered by AI. So with understanding images, we can do a lot of things. And what we're currently doing is in stock and in Photoshop and in our photo assistant called Lightroom CC, we do image search there. So an example is, there's this artist, great artist called Jesus Ronderas, and I'm pronouncing his name badly, was searching for an image, And normally he would have to, of hands folded, so normally he would have to put the word hands and then search again through thousands of images. But instead he took a photo of the pose that he exactly wanted and did an image search on the photo and found what he needed straight away. I mean, that's an automation task that removes a lot of the very tedious work that can free us up to have more time to actually do what we're really good at, and is that creating and inventing a better future.
From the point of view of design, did you say, you know, it would be a better way to search if you could take a picture of the pose and search that way, or did he just figure out a way to use the technology? You know what I mean? Was that your intention, that someone would be able to do it that way?
It was our intention, and it was really nice to see people use it. This technology we've applied to, like I said, a few different tools, and we'll be continuing applying them. So if it's on your mobile, you can point it at something, it'll understand that and can search based on that image. And we've seen that in a few companies. This is kind of becoming more of a standard. But then an area I'm very interested in is augmented reality. So I see that as we roll into the future and as our products evolve, augmented reality can do the same thing, as in understand the world around us so that we can put digital images and tasks and interfaces into the real world that becomes far more efficient for us. And we don't have to sit at our desk all day. We can actually interact with
We're free from our screens.
We can create standing up and walking around and design in our environments.
And now that's a different kind of perspective from the sort of passive, like, you know, AI as a super enhanced database tool. That's more in your face, literally. I mean, it's in your field of vision.
Yeah.
But how far away is that kind of thing? And what kind of, that seems like that's a big jump for us to get used to using tools in a different way like that.
The two things that are inhibiting it is not the technology, because that's been already developed. It's the hardware evolution. So we currently have mobile AR, and that's not fantastic. It's okay, but we need to have more different types of hardware. But the second thing, which is what I wanted to mention to everyone here, is this ability to give more creative freedom is in the hands of all of us designers to think about tools and think about ways that we would want to be seeing creation in a more human, natural way. In fact, to illustrate this point, can I just take 1 minute of everybody's imagination?
Sure.
Can I do
Let's flex our imagination.
Let's flex our imagination. Can I take 1 minute? You can close your eyes, maybe, if you want to. You don't have to. But let's just take a minute to just go to the place that we are happiest. So for me, it's in Australia on the beach. And this happy place does not have my phone or my desk or my computer screen or a keyboard. It has, friends running around and nature. It's a place that I can feel comfortable and relaxed. I feel I'm in a natural environment. Okay, you there? If you're there in your happy place, probably after a few days, you will want to pick up your phone. But not the phone is what you're interested in. It's what the information you can get, what you can do with your phone. That is the interesting part. So I would like to think about a better future where we take the tools of immersive technologies, like the camera that can see speech and how we can talk and computers can understand us, and other technologies that will develop powered by artificial intelligence, and design a future where it is more natural, that we are more in our happy place when we're creating or experiencing creation, so innovations.
If I can build on the very last point, because I think that's a really good point about designing more natural environments with AR, and I'm going to give you a story, a bit of a failure of mine with.
I just want to say quickly, I'm proud of everyone who kept their eyes closed the
know.
entire time. There was a
I wanted to
significant
close.
number of people.
I was the only one eating ice cream. No. So one of the things when designing for AR, from a designer's perspective, is something called cognitive dissonance. It's the difference between what you expect to see versus what you're actually seeing. So one of the things that I built a while back was being able to experience what it's like to be in a four-wheel drive going across the Sahara. It was for a car manufacturer. And you would sit in the actual physical car, put the headset on, and you could look around with the headset in all directions. And we had 360-degree filming, so out of the car, above the car, so you could do this and see around. But one of the things that we've got to do in version number 1 was give the person, as you look down at yourself, you could see the legs, but there was no arms. We didn't think about giving them arms. So people were feeling really conscious that they didn't have any arms. So in the second version, we gave the artificial self, when you sit down in your seat and you look down, arms and legs, and you put your hands like this. But what we actually saw over the course of about 3 minutes using it for just about every individual is they start off doing this, and then all of a sudden, they start moving their hands and they mimic what they're seeing in the augmented reality. It's because what's happening is they can't reconcile what they're visualizing with what they're expecting, so they make their body mimic what they're seeing. And that's a really important thing from when we start talking about augmented reality, particularly in environments such as manufacturing or anywhere where there's a health and safety risk, that we need to go beyond for me, a little bit of the gimmick of how can we make something float, how can we make something have 3D depth, to actually, I'm going to use this to effectively make me more productive or to be able to visualize something quite differently. And you need to be able to design from that cognitive perspective of how a human actually thinks and works. And I don't think we spend enough time on that aspect. And it will be very important for future designers.
So that's a whole new field of design, to think about integrating that experience and connecting that to the human action.
That's exactly right. And I think you'll see a lot more of these new sort of specialist design skills coming out. So designing for AR, we'll have deep knowledge required and experience. Same for naturalistic interfaces, like talking to Siri or Google Home or something else, is that as these devices and as these technologies progress and we expect them to understand us, we're going to hope that they also understand emotion. So as a designer, we're going to want to start answering questions like, what knowledge is already housed in the cloud? How much can we, how much do we want to let on that we've been listening ambiently to the conversations going in the house and make recommendations about the sort of takeaway that they want to buy because I've been listening for the last 30 minutes, and all of a sudden I say, hi Brian, are you going to call the Thai restaurant?
Right.
And then all of a sudden I get freaked out by that.
Yeah.
So these designers are going to have to start to think about really the emotional cues and the ways of structuring conversations. So you'll have conversational designers, emotional designers. All these new types of design are going to proliferate as we start looking at AI and data and connected devices.
And how long do until we submit and just declare defeat and we know that they're going to be listening and the AI is going to be helping us? It's like a psychological change that's already probably rapidly happening.
Yeah, it's very true. I think that'll differ by different people. I think there's a lot of people who still put the sticky tape over their camera on their laptop. I said it's a utility equation. There are going to be some people who say the benefit or the cost of giving away my personal information and security or privacy is outweighed by the value or the benefit that I receive, and I'm okay with that. And there'll be some people who, quite rightly, will see, I'm not prepared to give away that privacy, and I feel very uncomfortable with this. And coming back to the cognitive dissonance, if you design it the wrong way, a lot of people are going to feel very uncomfortable a lot of the time.
I think a good example of that, and taking in the cultural changes that are happening, is when you look at Google's glasses that they released, and you look at Snap spectacles they released. When Google released their glasses, there was a huge, strong reaction of, are you filming me? And the privacy issue came up, and they did not expect that reaction. But then Snap spent a lot of time thinking about how somebody's going to respond. And they thought about details like having the lights going around the camera so that you, as a viewer, can be prepared and then only film for 10 seconds. So there's things like details like that, as designers, we are really good at thinking about. And so when we think about using voice, all the different senses we can now design for, voice, gestures, sound, movement, time, space. We've got all these other tools we can now be designing with. We need to think about the cultural implications of not just the user, but also the viewer being seeing what we're doing.
I want to give people a chance to ask a question. If we have any in the audience, there's a paddle. I have another question. I have a lot of questions, but one I'd like to ask, just jumping off what we were talking about, is, you're talking about new sort of fields of design and new types of skills. Where's the talent going to come from for this? Are people going to have to be trained in different ways? Are companies going to need to start? Are you going to start training people in different ways?
Yes.
So are you already doing that?
Yes, yeah. We feel that, and this is a philosophy Adobe has always had, that we're not designing alone, we're designing our tools with the community, with them literally and with them in mind as well, so that we are, as we move into the future, we are also influencing and developing the future. We want to we want the response from the community to feed back to us what they need and present the possibilities as well. So we understand so well from our customers some fundamental changes that they're going to struggle with, like thinking about everything in 3 dimensions versus 2 dimensions really messes with your mind for a lot of people. And so we need to go on the journey with them and educate them and provide tools that take them one step at a time through this journey.
What about you, Rod? I mean, McKinsey's in the design business now, but you're also advising clients. I mean, what are you hearing from companies that you work with, and what are you helping them identify as, how do they assess whether our design operation is up to this challenge for taking on AI, or how do they find and train the talent the right way?
That's a great question. I'd probably say there's a continuum, so I'll answer that in a couple of ways. I would say the number one problem on most of our clients' minds, particularly in Asia, is just where's the talent? Where's the talent with the design that we already need to satisfy, right? So that's the burning problem that needs to be addressed before we even push even further. The answer to that, in part, other than partnerships with industry and various design schools to start forming the next generation of designers, is the training. It's the internal training and development and being able to have very clear plans for how you attract the talent. How do you make your organization, number one, seem appealing so that the best talent who do want to go to Amazon, to Google, to Apple, elsewhere, come to you? So there's a bit of a branding part and a talent acquisition part. Then there's the training and development and the retraining in internal teams that needs to take place. The part of the question that you also ask is about what about these new design disciplines? That will take time, and I'm a bit of a pragmatist. I kind of believe in apprenticeship by doing. And let me use an example. So the iPhone was out for a very long period of time before we started getting good mobile UI design on touchscreens. And we could see what touch UI would enable, but we really weren't good touch UI designers for quite a number of years. I think we're going to start seeing, similar to what happened in universities after everyone had smartphones, we will see design courses, we will see designers experimenting, you'll see a group of individuals starting to tackle how to design for IoT once they become far more accessible, when we start to see those devices become far more interoperable, and we start having organizations start to either invest through incubators or innovation capabilities, or through actually launching far more products and services that will see people starting to be able to play and experiment and design. And those people who play now will be the people who teach us later. And it's going to be a bit of a pivot point. For now, a lot of that talent about how to design for it sits within a few organizations who are really at the forefront.
We're running down on time here, but I just want to ask, how quickly is this going to change and evolve? When we're back here in 2 years in this room talking about design and AI, is AI going to be such a powerful theme in design that it's going to be sort of the new UX? Are we all going to be saying AI design, AI design? How far along are we going to get and how fast?
Adobe has put a big bet on AI, and a lot of other companies have said the same. It's considered to be possibly bigger than the influence of smartphones and big data to affect culture, affect the way we do business, affect how we create.
So it is the trend for you?
It is definitely here.
Yeah. And Rod, last word?
Absolutely. I'll speak for McKinsey, but it'll also be for IBM or BCG or Bain or any other organization. So I think, we now have almost 1,800 data scientists who have joined McKinsey, right? That's a big double down on the role of machine learning, AI, big data. I think that's an indication of how much our clients are looking for counsel and advice. That's an indication of how seriously our clients take building up the skills in that area. And if we use, a stat, I don't have the latest stats, but if I go back 6 months into my memory, when we start looking at around about 8 billion smartphones, active smartphones in the world, but we have over 40 billion active sensors and IoT devices out there, we can see that sensors, IoT-based interactions will far surpass any other form of means of digital interaction over the coming years. And I think a lot of very smart organizations will find a way to monetize that very, very quickly.
Well, it's an exciting story to follow. Thanks for being here to give us some insight into where we are now.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.